Alright, what's up everybody? Adam here again, and want to answer the question that everyone has been asking me. Yes, this is the UH-1 Huey. I have been shooting it for a while, and I get asked all the time, Huey versus Spitfire. I am a big advocate of the Spitfire for 3-gun use. Folks are wondering how it stacks up against the Razor UH-1 Huey. For the specifics on the Huey, there's lots of videos out there about that. You can go watch some SHOT Show videos from 2017. I believe there's even a couple of me on there giving the dance about it. The quick rundown though, it looks very much like an EOTech. It is a hologram like an EOTech, but that's about all that they have in common. Vortex really started with a clean sheet of paper on these and came up with something pretty unique. To kind of calibrate my objectivity on it when they first came out with it, was not super stoked on it because I wasn't a big fan of the EOTech. But once I actually started looking at one, got some time behind it, I am a hardcore fan. What I like best about it, what I like best about any optic, if you want to gauge what I'm going to say about an optic, the question I ask myself is, do I feel like I'm looking through an optic? Okay, so what I like about the Huey is I have an aiming reticle through a medium that I don't feel like I'm looking through a tube. I don't feel like I'm looking through an interface. There's just a reticle out in space that drives where the bullets impact, and that is what they have accomplished with the Huey. We have I believe a 1 MOA dot, and then there's also a CQB triangle at the bottom, which has been very helpful lately here. The Minnesota 3-gun group, they're into shooting really close range clays hanging on a string with rifles, and that CQB triangle has been super handy for pinpoint accuracy on that, getting the offset correct and then hitting the clay in the portion where it's going to shatter for sure, instead of just punching a single hole through. So I really like the reticle. To compare to the Spitfire, there's still a dot within a ring. You kind of learn how to use the ring for gross motor skill shooting up close. You're not really trying to pinpoint something. You can kind of frame the shot with the rings. But where the Huey starts to depart from the Spitfire, or where the Spitfire starts to shine, is if you have to shoot long range. At the long range presentations, the Spitfire reticle, being an etched reticle instead of a projected hologram, is more crisp when you're trying to look at something that's very small and very far away. If you're wondering what it looks like when you're shooting long range with a limited optic, it looks like a 4-year-old's finger painting. So when you're trying to overlay a reticle onto a blur that's a long ways away, it's a lot easier to do that with a black Spitfire reticle than it is with a Huey. Now, a lot of folks will say the Spitfire is not daylight bright. That's more or less true, but truth be told, most of the time I don't even have this battery in my Spitfire. I hardly ever use the illumination during the day. I always get a better presentation with the black reticle, so I really don't worry about that. But for times when you really do want a fiery, bold reticle, that's where the Huey starts to come in, because more often than not in 3-gun applications, we're starting to worry about how to tone down the reticle more than we are trying to turn it up. So I have used more of the very dim settings on the Huey than I have really used the very bright ones. One of the unique features about the Huey that they don't really talk about but is integrated into it, the dot is slightly more intense than the ring. So when you do get into those situations where you're starting to get kind of blazed out of the optic because it's so bright, and you're turning down your brightness settings, trying to get a more crisp, unobtrusive reticle, the ring starts to disappear before the dot does, to a very subtle degree, but it is there, and it's there just enough that it's useful. So I do like that about the Huey when we're trying to make the precision shots on a 50-yard auto popper or something like that. But huge field of view. It's very intuitive. It's very trim. It doesn't feel bulky on top of the rifle, and it doesn't look bulky around the rifle. I can see all the way around the Huey, as well as seeing through it. It's not in my way like a lot of other holographic optics or the tube style red dots. I always feel like I'm looking through something and it's in my way of seeing around the rifle, where I don't get that with the Huey. So more often than, for a lot of our club style stuff, been using the Huey, and definitely going to stick with it. Keep trying it out. I got some more experimental stuff I want to do with it for my own information. At matches where you're going to have to do the long range stuff, Spitfire still wins. We still got the BDC turret up there, so I can have a much more educated guess. If I have to shoot at 400 yards, 500 yards, I can dial it in and be closer into the neighborhood, have more confidence that I'm going to get a hit instead of having to do some sort of Kentucky windage holding over it. So there's some quick thoughts on Huey versus Spitfire. Everybody wanted to know, and that's what I think. So if you have any questions, shoot a comment down below, and I'll be sure to get to them. If you have anything you'd like us to cover more in depth on them, shoot us those questions as well, and we'll get in front of the camera and we'll address those as well. So I'm Adam Maxwell, Vortex Optics, and Hawkeye Ordnance. Thanks for tuning in.